for the first activity for this week, you're going to go to MusicTheory.net. So I was going to post this just in case you needed some extra help. MusicTheory.net, under MusicTheory.net, which if you just go to MusicTheory.net looks like this. For the note identification, you're going to go here, which takes you to this. Now you'll notice that there are sharps. These are not hashtags. These are sharps. A sharp raises a pitch by a half step. These little characters right here, the C next to that character that looks like a weird B, is actually called a flat, and it lowers the pitch by a half step. So this is the natural pitch. Excuse me, this is the natural pitch. This is that pitch raised one half step. This is that pitch, C, lowered one half step. So to identify this pitch, you need to find out what note that is. To do that, on the treble clef, you understand that this is G. The second line from the bottom is G. You just do the alphabet, the musical alphabet, up from G, each line and space until you get to that note. So you have to count each line and space. So over here, if this is G, then that space above G would be A, because the musical alphabet is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So after G, it starts back over with A. So if this is G, this is A. That space right here is A. This line is B. This space is C. This line is D. This space is E. This line is F. And then you have another space above that big line, which would be G again. And then after G, it goes back to A, which would be this small line, which is called a ledger line. And then back to B, and then C. Okay? You also don't have one of these characters or these characters. You don't have a sharp or a flat, and so it must be a natural note. So that would be C natural. You click on C, it turns green, it plays the note for it, it gives you your percentage up at the top and how many you've gotten correct out of how many you've attempted. So if you get it wrong, this is D, by the way. If you get this wrong, I'm going to say E and get it wrong. It takes me to 50%, which is I've gotten 1 out of 2 correct. So I've gotten 1 correct out of 2 attempted. Over on the side, if you open up MusicTheory.net and you go and you see some strange things, you can customize some of the settings. For example, if you go to clefs, you can look at the treble clef. You can add the treble clef. You can add the bass clef, which I suggest that you add the bass clef to it. So do the treble clef and the bass clef, and I'll give you links to identify those pitches and show you how. The treble range is how far you can go up and how far you can go down from the treble clef, and then the bass range is the same thing, just with the bass clef. Positions, lines, and spaces. You want to identify the lines and the space, so notes on the line and notes on the space. And then key signatures, you don't need to know what this is, so make sure you click on the natural, okay? Not the order of flats and not the order of sharps. Note names, you want letters. You can switch it to alphabetical if it makes you feel any better. When you switch it to alphabetical, I'll show you what it does. It just switches it from A, B, C, D, E, F, and G from C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, A, B, excuse me. Back in the settings, if you shouldn't click on anything else, because this will be scale degrees will be something different. Solfege, my choir classes know all about the solfege, which is a completely different system if they're identifying the pitch. So I want you to stick with letters, either alphabetical or just letters. Helpers, you can turn on helpers, which is just it gives you hints. You want to keep accidentals off. Accidentals being the sharps and the flats. You can turn, if you want to challenge yourself, you can turn on those accidentals. When you turn on the accidentals, it'll give you options for accidentals. So in this case, it's got that flat next to it. If this is G in the treble clef, 1 before G would be F, so this would be F flat because you have that flat symbol right there. So you click on F flat, and that would be the correct answer. By the way, notice since it switched, notice that this is the bass clef. So that's your first step, is identify what clef you're in. If you're in the bass clef, this second line from the top is F. Okay, so for you sixth graders we haven't had a chance to go over this, this right here is F. So if this is F, you just count the alphabet backwards or forwards. Forwards going up, backwards going down. So if this is F, the space below F would be E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E. So that line right, that note right there should be E. So if you click on E, that's correct. Now notice that it switched to treble. So your first step is identify what clef you're in. Since we're in the treble clef, the second line from the bottom is G. So this is G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, so that's how you do it. Since we were already in the bass clef. Again, bass clef. This is F in the bass clef. That second line from the top in the bass clef is F, because it's also called the F clef, which is surrounded by those two dots right there. Since this is F, and you're going up from F, you just count the alphabet forwards, the musical alphabet forwards. One note after F is G. So if this is G, but you have this sharp next to it, so it's got to be G sharp. So that's all you have to do with the accidentals. It's really not that hard. Back to the settings just to finish off what they've got. You can filter out certain notes. You don't need that. So keep this off. And then after next question, play the audio. If the audio stuff gets annoying, you can change this and it's just a setting. And then challenge mode. You can set a certain time limit. You can say, I'm going to do this for 5 minutes, or I want to do 25 questions, and I can, if I get it wrong, multiple attempts means if I get it wrong, it'll let me try it again. I suggest if you're just playing around for a little while, don't do the challenge mode. Turn the challenge mode off. So there's not a time limit. It does time you, or it used to. It doesn't anymore. But you can reset your score, which gives your score back to zeros. You can also show the timer, which is how long you've been doing it. If you are stumped on a question, you can go over here to reveal answer, and it'll show you that that's an E. Okay, it doesn't tell you why it's an E, but at least it tells you what it is. You can skip the question if you don't like that question, and then the other two is you don't need. You can show the progress report, but it doesn't matter. I don't need it. Don't turn the progress report in. It's not a thing. I just want you to play. Be a little bit more familiar with these note names. This is the music theory stuff that helps you to understand music, so that you can do music on your own a little bit more. So other than that, it's fairly simple. MusicTheory.net, exercises, and then note names, and this is how it's done. Thank y'all.